Emil Blonsky's triumphant return to the MCU limelight makes him officially the oldest recurring villain in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With a brief cameo in Shang-Chi leading into his imminent arrival, he has now re-emerged in full thanks to the She-Hulk series. His latest appearance helps to shed light on why exactly he was present in Shang-Chi to begin with, what stake he had in the tournament, and why he was ultimately forced to leave his cell. But upon further examination, his logic seems to be rather flawed. So why exactly did Wong free Blonsky from his cell? What compelled him to do this, and was he being completely truthful in his testimony in order to free Blonsky? Well, stick with us today, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's delve into the possibility that Wong actually lied to the parole board about the circumstances of Blonsky's escape, and analyze what the true reasoning may have been for this adventure. The story, as Wong claims, is that he needed to face a formidable opponent in order to truly earn his title of Sorcerer Supreme. This seems to hint that their battle in Shang-Chi was a sort of initiation of sorts, ensuring that Wong was truly capable of leading Martynas against any threat. But upon further examination, there are a few holes in this story that don't line up with what we know about the modern MCU. First off, let's discuss the timeline of when exactly this happened. In Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange states that Wong became the Sorcerer Supreme in Strange's absence, after having been snapped away by Thanos in the year 2018. Shang-Chi, however, takes place after the blip, meaning that Wong would have already been the Sorcerer Supreme for around 5 years. It seems highly unlikely that he would still need any sort of initiation or test to prove his worth after all of this time. One possibility is that the blip prompted Wong to increase his training, as half of all the threats of Martynas had seemingly vanished, and now he had to keep his skills sharp in lieu of this new development. This, however, also doesn't make much sense given both the setting in which the fight took place, as well as what appears to be a seasoned friendship, or at least a companionship between the two characters. If Wong needed to face certain threats in order to complete his training, then why choose Xilin's tournament over anything else? Why didn't he bring the Abomination to either Martynas or an arena of Wong's choosing? He could have chosen a desolate Arctic arena, an uninhabited desert, or any corner of the world where Blonsky wouldn't cause collateral damage. Yet, he chose a populated, regulated underground criminal network, governed by rules that he himself could not control or influence. This seems to be a poor choice of training for the title of Sorcerer Supreme, especially because Wong wasn't actually interested in their contenders. He chose Blonsky or the Abomination specifically, and this is proven by their personal rapport in Shang-Chi, as well as his testimony and the fact that he portaled Blonsky out and back into his cell. They complemented one another and bicker with each other as old friends might, proving there is more than just a professional relationship here. Their interactions seem to imply that they've been doing this for quite some time, and have built some level of respect for one another. So then, what could be Wong's true motivations for releasing the behemoth who ravaged Harlem all those years ago? If he knows that Blonsky could be a potential threat and has the record to prove it, then why would Wong free him at all? We propose a timeline roughly as follows, but keep in mind that this is a general overview of potential possibilities, not an ironclad sequence of events that is in any way definitive. If Wong wanted to face new threats in order to train his skills as the Sorcerer Supreme, then it likely would have been immediately after the calamity caused by Thanos. In the confusion and fear, the world would have been more unstable than ever, and Martynas would need a fearless and capable leader in Sorcerer Supreme. This might lead Wong to travel across the world, seeking the strongest enemies he could in order to hone his skills and talents as the newly graduated Sorcerer Supreme. This may have led him to his first encounter with Blonsky taking place in around 2018, wherein he did free the Abomination in order to fight. This first encounter would have likely been much more closely related to Wong's testimony, wherein he chose Blonsky as an official contender for his training regimen, only it would have likely taken place 5 years before Wong said it did. This, however, could have potentially led to an evolution in their relationship, and eventually an arrangement followed by a friendship. Blonsky, having tasted his first semblance of freedom in a decade, might have to bargain or negotiate with Wong in order to get more time outside of his prison. We know that during his time in captivity, Blonsky took up a much more passive and peaceful mindset, abandoning his violent ways and turning to poetry and art. He might, however, still seek a way to get out of his cell, even if just for a few minutes or hours at a time. If this is the case, he might have worked with Wong to find a safe and regulated means for him to be free, yet still under supervision and unable to escape. This would mean that if Blonsky still wanted to fight, then he and Wong would be in search of a reasonable middle ground, somewhere that Blonsky could be controlled without being completely imprisoned, but a place where he still would get to fight. We know that Wong is a reasonable and relatively compassionate individual who would likely oblige him. This may have led them to Xilinx's tournament, which fits all of the criteria laid out in the aforementioned proposal. And when reframed like this, it seemed to be the perfect splot. Here, Blonsky could fight, socialize, be active, and exercise, while not causing long-term damage in a public, populated area. Civilians would not be at risk, and there would be little chance that Blonsky could escape. Yet he could still form social bonds, interact with others, fight, and escape from his cell in a contained area for just a few hours at a time. Given how reasonable we've seen Wong to be, it makes sense that he would have compassion for Emil's circumstances, and might be willing to give him a little bit of grace, which would actually help both of them reach their goals. Perhaps the condition of their release is that he would be overseen by Wong, probably more so at the beginning of this arrangement than when we see him in the events of Shang-Chi. But either way, it meant that Abomination could be free if Wong was present. Wong, on the other hand, now has a steady supply of superpowered individuals with which to do battle and exercise his skills, taking routine part in the tournament partially because he enjoyed it and partially to keep his skills sharp. Even if he didn't directly fight Emil, he could face down the other contenders of Xilinx's arena, practicing against a wide variety of different enemies, from simple human foes to enhanced individuals. This seems to be a mutually beneficial agreement. Emil gets to socialize and have a life outside of prison, and Wong gets to continually train during the blip. By the events of Shang-Chi, it seems as if they've developed a friendship, or on a first-name basis as well with one another, supporting the idea that this arrangement has been carrying on for some time now. When Wong is called to testify, he's not being completely untruthful, as the first instance of him freeing Blonsky might have actually been at the discretion of the Sorcerer Supreme with the express intent of training. Subsequent releases, however, may not be entirely professional, and might have been the result of nothing more than two friends looking out for one another. But anyway, my friends, and watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, what do you think of this explanation? Do you think that this explains the full story of what happened between Emil Blonsky and Wong? And if not, what details do you think we may have missed? Do you think this basic framework is a reasonable conclusion, or did we get something wrong? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.